Hey, I'm Madonna Guy and this is David Shell from New Leaf Natural Therapies.
Hello everybody.
So part 3 on our quick little brain series. Just so I thought we'd throw a few ideas out there today because we've both got so many clients that are going through the same sort of things. And I want to talk about a couple of things dietary-wise that are challenging with mental health, neurospicy, anxiety, ADHD, that sort of thing. And obviously the first one is sugar. Now, everyone knows sugar is bad for us, but what a lot of people don't know is that 55 to 65% of Aussies and Americans, for example, have most of their diet as refined, totally refined foods. So hardly any nutrition in there whatsoever. And it's not that hard to do these days because everything's so packaged and pre-prepared and so many people are time poor and broke. And sometimes...
How is the nutrition reduced? When even though it's just a processed food, it's still a processed whole food.
No, it's not. So, not by the time it's white sugar, white flour.
Okay, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm just like asking.
Yeah, because basically...
I'm not a punter. I'm not an expert on nutrition or anything. I'm just a counselor.
No. And that's the whole thing. Sugar is inflammatory. Mm-hmm. So there's two components to sugar. There's glucose and there's sucrose.
And there's dopamine.
Well, you get a dopamine hit from them, which makes you more addicted to it. So, funnily enough, you mentioned nicotine in one of those previous videos. Mm-hmm. And there was actually back in, I can't remember, 1993 or something, 7 heads of tobacco companies in America were hauled in front of Congress. They had to put their hands on Bibles and say whether or not nicotine was addictive. Do you know the answer to this?
I know that Edward Bernays started the public relations business, the primary one in 1915.
Yep.
And the first thing he went with was the tobacco companies.
Yep.
Because they said they wanted more girls to smoke. So he got a bunch of debutantes in one of the main streets in America, called all the media places, and he called what the girls were doing, them smoking. It was torches of freedom.
Right.
In fact, you'll find it in the old media, and that's what happened.
Well,
and that public relations has grown for over 100 years now, and it was all about denying what was really happening with things and promoting them to get people to consume more.
So back one step. Nicotine is a nutrient.
Right.
Nicotine is a nutrient in all of our nightshade foods. Mm-hmm. So the foods that are highest in nicotine are your potatoes, your eggplants, your tomatoes, your capsicums.
And tobacco.
Yeah, and tobacco.
All from South America.
But there's 220 plus chemicals in tobacco. Mm-hmm. When you're smoking tobacco, you're actually, if it's not organic and if it's not sugar-free, about 25% of it is sugar by weight. Okay. In cigars, it's about 40% by weight.
Interesting fact on nicotine. Currently, they're trying to make ADHD medicines using nicotine.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
And not the tobacco, but the nicotine itself.
Interesting.
One point. Another point is there's a scientific researcher you'll find him on YouTube called Andrew Huberman, and he's a Stanford professor, and he went and visited one of the senior professors, a couple of years ago. And he said while he was there, he chewed 7 pieces of the nicotine chewing gum. And he asked him why. And his science professor said, all the research says that nicotine helps with, what's when your brain grows?
Neurogenesis.
And neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
And so he's like, it doesn't hurt me because I'm not smoking. And he said, so I just chew it all day and it keeps me up to speed, it keeps his brain growing.
Yeah, so I just wanted to sort of mention that about nicotine.
It's a funny thing because it's caused so much problems in society from smoking, but the actual nutrient itself. Yeah,
so it's a nutrient. We have to sort of, recategorize things and think, why have we been brainwashed to think that nicotine is addictive when there's 220 other chemicals, including sugar? Right. So the chemicals and the sugar, isn't that this the case? Sweet. Yeah, so isn't that the case with so much stuff these days? It's not what we think it was, but it's not what we've been brainwashed to think. We have to start rethinking things. So nicotine, not necessarily, but nonetheless, I'm not saying smoking's good for us or cigars are good for us because there's so many other chemicals, but I do know people who smoke organic tobacco. Mm-hmm. And that, these days, I'm like, can't say anything against that.
Right.
You know,
That's
so yeah, so that's just something. And in 2007, Harvard actually did a study where they were looking. They had a whole bunch of animals, as they do, and they tried to get them addicted to different substances. You know, the usual sort of stuff, sugar and cocaine and heroin and things. They could not get the animals addicted to nicotine.
They hated it.
No. They just didn't get addicted to it. It wasn't addictive
But it's also an insecticide.
because it's just a nutrient.
But they've used it as an insecticide too.
Well, what have they used as an insecticide? The nicotine, the nutrient,
Or the tobacco.
or the tobacco?
Not sure.
Interesting. So anyway, that's just sort of one thing. But sugar is a really big thing. Now, the reason sugar is inflammatory is that there's two components of it. Now, the glucose is metabolized through the liver. The sugar... No, sorry, that's wrong. Ignore all of that. It's fructose and sucrose. Sorry. Fructose is only metabolized through the liver. So as we, if our liver isn't functioning, then anything going on with our neurotransmitters, our stress has to go through the liver. If we have got an overload of fructose in our liver, and sugar is 50% fructose and 50% sucrose, so anyone who was at the beginning saying, it's not 50% glucose, you're absolutely right. So basically that overloads the liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is nearly always because of fructose. So people who get fatty liver have to go off sugar, have to go off fruits, have to look into the foods that are high in fructose and go off those if they want to clear out their fatty liver. Because if we get fatty liver, we're going to end up with that abdominal fat. The abdominal fat, once our body mass index is over 30, it actually releases the most stress hormones in the body. It becomes the major endocrine system in the body, which is a real problem. Because from a hormonal perspective, it can do things like slow down the thyroid, it can activate the adrenals, it can shut down our immune system, it can convert our estrogen to testosterone, it can convert our testosterone to estrogen, so it can make us all pretend, stuff is, it can basically mess with our hormones big time. But yeah, so sugar really important, because we know, I've actually had kids with ADHD. Going back about 15 years ago, I had a practitioner who would always get a kid to do writing when they got into the thing, and then he would get the parent to give them something sweet, because the parents always had sweeties in their bags, and then by the end of the session he would get them to write again. And because their brain was so discombobulated because of their sugar, their handwriting was so bad at the end of the session compared to the beginning after they'd had sugar. So
And,
he actually did that, over and over
But
again.
the reason there's a motive for them having sugar is that their dopamine system doesn't work as well as other people. So they're always chasing dopamine.
Yeah.
And
there's a real addiction going on. So, and that's part of the problem. And another sort of thing with ADHD and a lot of neurospicy people is the, what was I going to say? Casein and gliadin. So basically the gliadin in wheat and the casein in dairy, they've got things, we need a hormone called DPP4 to break them down. If we don't have enough DPP4, then these can become opioids.
Oh, that sounds good.
So yeah, it sounds good, doesn't it? So we can end up with gliadin opioids and casein opioids. And what happens with people on opioids?
Well, they become communists. It's the opioid of
Communists. Well, I hadn't thought of that.
I think it's whenever I think, religion's the opioid.
So I was thinking more along the lines of, so then you can end up with everything from the tiredness after you have some opioids to the wanting to punch someone in the nose. So everything on that spectrum of opioid. Yeah, absolutely. So people who have a high...
So what's this DPP?
It's a digestive enzyme.
If you've got enough of this isn't any problem.
Well, that's part of the problem. But you also need a healthy microbiome in the gut.
The problem with this is, what if you're a vegetarian? Because that's most of the vegetarian food.
Well, for example, with the casein, if you have A2 dairy, that's the old variety of casein that hasn't been molecularly bastardized for the last 100 years. So having A2 dairy can take the pressure off that.
A2?
Yeah. And with wheat, If we eat organic, like I think with both of them, if you eat organic, you know, wheat and dairy, and I often say this to
So then
clients,
it becomes very expensive because
it's not that expensive these days.
well, bingo. Where that becomes hard, like, I know a lot of vegetarian people, and so and they're often because of their religion.
Yes.
So it's not like they have a choice.
Yes.
They don't have a choice like other people. So I'm always interested in finding out, all right, what's the vegetarian version of this, especially for families who've got kids and you need to cook every day. When you've got 5 kids, going organic doubles your food bill, and it's already massive.
Yes.
Because kids, especially boys, they eat a lot of food.
Yeah. Yeah. We could never keep up with the kids when our kids were teenagers. If their friends came over, holy moly. Yeah. Well, I sort of say to people, this is where to spend your money. Because the other thing is, there's these little things called lectins. So unfortunately, back in the 80s and 90s, a lot of scientists who thought they were doing the right thing at the time, I'm sure, they increased something called lectins in a lot of grains, nuts, seeds, pulses. Now, lectins
What, genetically?
yes, so they genetically modified it. And basically, because lectins are a natural pesticide in a lot of nuts, seeds, grains and pulses, they got away with it without having to call it genetic modification, because technically it was something naturally in these foods. So then what happened was, and the idea was that they could then use 3 to 6 times less pesticides on these foods because they'd increase the natural pesticides.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing, but guess what happened? Nature found a way. So now we use more than 3 to 6 times more pesticides on those same foods because it didn't work. So we have the bastardized genetics of them, where we've got all of the, and they increase the lectins, by the way, from anywhere between 10 to 1,000 times in different foods.
Okay, but that would be in the meat too, because that's what the animals
That's
do.
exactly what I'm saying.
So
No, that's exactly where I was going with this.
It's all through the food chain.
This is where organic comes in.
Even worse with
This
fish
is where
because of the pollution.
This is where organic comes in. So if you eat organic wheat, then for a start, they can't call it wheat. Oh, they can't call it organic wheat if it's been genetically modified. They're all trying to change these laws all around the world so that they can. Like, this is big pharma trying to get in there and do, or big agriculture trying to change all the laws at the moment anyway, which is really sucky. So this is one place, because you can imagine if the dairy is organic, they can't be fed the genetically modified wheat. So
Right.
that's why the dairy as well, but A2 takes some of the pressure off,
Okay.
but if it's organic A2, it's even better. But the
A2,
wheat,
okay.
A2 milk, yeah. So that's the old-fashioned protein.
But it's still on the shelf. I've seen it there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can get it from, say, organics, like Barron Bar Organics in Australia. So we, you know, it is possible to get these things and to sort of think, where's my organic money going this week? And that's what we need to be thinking.
Right, so a good place to start isn't to go fully organic, but just start to add some things.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about these lectins is...
Because a small reduction can often have a big effect,
Yeah.
rather
And
than a dramatic one, which...
that is a
a
huge
dramatic-
amount of people's
Whereas
diets.
a dramatic reduction will cause maybe high cost of food, like a big thing will cause, you know, may not... It might be a big change.
We're trying to
but
positively enforce things. So basically
Sure.
what the lectins
I'm
do,
just
so
saying-
that you know your bang for your buck, what these lectins do is destroy the villi in the intestines.
Oh, okay.
So because you get down to the neurological layer, about 4th layer down, huge gut-brain connection, that causes the neurospicing.
So neurological, so people don't understand this. They found through the nervous system that the brain neurons, like especially the vagus nerve, all around the heart, all around the stomach, they're actually brain neurons. They're actually identical to the...
Yeah. So there's 20 to 30% brain neurons in the heart, and
what's
the
around
vagus,
stomach?
the vagus nerve is around every organ in the body.
Yeah,
It's huge.
wraps itself.
Yeah. So by the time we're down to the neurological layer, so by the time we've destroyed our villi, we've destroyed our microbiome, we've destroyed our immune system layer, we get down to the neurological layer in the gut.
Where's that? Not small intestine?
It's in, no, it's in the, it's the whole gut lining.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
So
didn't know that.
no, so we've really screwed with our guts the last 50 years. There's glyphosate and pesticides in everything. So you can't just keep eating it and think you're going to fix your brain.
Well,
You just can't do
does
it.
it accumulate?
Yes, yes, absolutely
the
it
gut lining,
accumulates.
so a common thing these days is what happens when your microbiome gets,
Yeah, destroyed.
well, it's covered up really, isn't it? And
There's a layer of
the infection's under the top layer now.
Yeah, well, that's not the microbiome, that's the biofilm.
Right.
So biofilm is like a hardened mucoid plaque layer that underneath that you can have candida and bacteria
Yeah,
and,
that's what
and
I mean.
fungus and all sorts of things.
And getting the top layer off's really hard because the infection's underneath it.
It's like chewing gum,
Mhm.
hardened, oxidized chewing gum.
Right.
Yeah.
But
So, and this is why, but vegetarians out there, cabbage.
Mm.
Cabbage from a vegetarian perspective is the highest amount of glutamine per gram.
And
So
the glutamine and the fibre in it.
Glutamine helps to heal
Like
the gut
sandpaper.
lining.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be very...
No, it's not about the fibre, it's about the glutamine.
But would the fibre help with the glutamine?
Oh, probably. But
Would it be like
fibre isn't the thing. It's
Okay.
about the glutamine.
Mhm.
So from a Metasaurus perspective, it's beef is the highest amount of glutamine. So beef and cabbage have the two highest levels, which is pretty cool.
Oh, it's good to know with the vegetarian thing, because a lot of vegetarian people really struggle with, just like a lot of people are struggling with modern medicine, vegetarians are
Yeah.
struggling with some modern ideas, because basically when you look at this, it's like our whole diet's disappeared. No milk, no grain, and it's like, oh no, we've got a family. And that's really troubling for people because people who are vegetarian who have their religion, they're not going to change.
Yeah,
And it's a bit of an insult to us to change.
yeah, yeah. No, that's true.
No,
But on the other hand,
just like it's a bit of an insult to ask somebody who's been really hurt and traumatised to forgive somebody,
yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, it's about regrowing the villi. So when I first heard this concept of lectins was about 10, 15 years ago at a seminar, and there was this dude from Melbourne who accidentally became an autism expert because he was researching lectins, and he discovered that the lectins destroy the villi in the intestines. And there's another probiotic, actually, the probiotic LGG. The LGG strain helps to regrow those villi. And the glutamine really helps with, and we need lots of vitamin D for the leaky gut. So basically we've got this stuff called zonulin between the cells in our stomach, and basically as the gut opens, which it's supposed to do this. So then if you've got your stomach in here and your gut out and your bloodstream here, it's supposed to open it up so that the toe dips its finger out into the bloodstream all the time, because 90% of immunity is in the gut. So if we're not actually having this, micro leaky gut, it's supposed to be there, and then the immune system is supposed to go, oh, we need more basophils, we need more eosinophils, we need more neutrophils, we need more lymphocytes.
Because there are some very complex treatments out there where they transplant positive bio into, and it has a good effect.
Yeah, it does. Totally. We call them poopsicles. Poop transplants is what he's talking about.
And they might, and I don't know how expensive they are, but just say...
They're very expensive in the States. No one can afford it.
So they're very expensive.
And they're making them illegal here in Australia at the moment.
Okay, so if we can't do that, what's the easiest way to work on the gut lining, which causes so many problems? Like, is it a detox, or do we need
I was going to say...
fast?
Water fasting.
Water fasting.
That is cheap and easy and costs you nothing.
And very hard to do that.
Yeah. So, but it can be made easier. So you can do water fasting, and depending on what you have in there, you still get all the benefits of water fasting. So, for example, you could do herbal teas. That will not break a water fast. You can do collagen, and there are vegetarian forms of collagen and vegan forms of collagen. So you can do things that just don't affect the result of the fast.
Things like electrolytes help?
We need that salt, good old Celtic sea salt. I've got my little wooden tubs, and take a little splatter of it every day. Most people don't have enough hydrochloric acid in their small intestines, in their stomach, and basically if every time we're doing a bit of Celtic sea salt on our tongue or having it sprinkled in our food, we've got sodium chloride as well as 81 other nutrients, and that's stimulating hydrochloric acid release from the gut, which we need to break down protein, which is glutamine, which heals the gut.
Right.
So we can actually stimulate our own digestive acids without drugs.
What does it do? Because you said it's got this chewing gum skin over it.
Well, that's the biofilm.
And is that always there, or is that only there when you're
No, that's no. Some people, they have it for their entire lives.
Right.
It can be real,
But-
and that's hard to shift.
So
that can be a 2-year process.
Healthy people don't have biofilm?
No, that's no. Everyone's
I've
got
seen
biofilm.
I've seen it gets hardened, and it's on top, and so even like herbs or supplements can't get under.
Oh yes, herbs can,
Oh,
but
herbs can.
and again that's why I muscle test. But
Right.
not everyone has a kinesiologist in their back pocket. So and that's why I use a lot of. There's herbs like say Bactrex, which has a lot of essential oils in it actually. So things
What are
like
those basic active ingredients?
so things like oregano, lemon, eucalyptus, philodendron.
And
So those combination of essential
eating
oils.
lemon and eucalyptus oil, and eucalyptus, if you eat those whole things, it's not.
Now you get chlamydia if you eat eucalyptus. That's a joke. That's a koala joke here in Australia.
No, but it's not just like those things. They're enhanced, aren't they?
Yeah. No.
Concentrated.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that what they do to them? How do they? Because you buy these things now, like turmeric, that's called, what do they call it?
Activated curcuminoids.
Activated, and it's 100 times more than just
Yes.
normal turmeric.
Yes.
How do they do that?
I don't know.
Okay,
No.
but they do that.
I don't need to know that.
Okay.
The science happens by behind closed walls with lots of boring people in white suits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know.
But
I've seen enough study to trust them.
With everything, we're always measuring effect.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing
In
about
science,
water
and
fasting is
naturopathy.
that it's. But I know a lady who regularly does 3-day water fasts. I know a guy who regularly does 3-day water fasts. You can have black coffee on it. You can have black tea.
I'm married to
You
someone
know,
who does 3-day water
Right,
fast.
okay, so it really helps our moods, haha. So, but it's about making sure that we've got enough stuff in our world, whether it's breathing in essential oils, doing our yoga, doing our meditation, playing good fun music, so that we can get through it a bit easier.
Actually, yoga and exercise, those two things. I was at a counselling supervision meeting. We meet up every month. And they were saying studies have found that those two things, exercise and...
Yoga.
Yoga and exercise are effective for nearly every mental anxiety, depression. However, one of the students, well, they're not students, one of the councils said, well, what about people who are sick? Like some people with depression can't get out of bed. Somebody might have a leg injury, and then they can't do these things.
But they could do saunas, they could do magnesium baths, they could do other things. They could get into a hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
So
there's other things that they can
helping
do.
people with those barriers, because the normal people go, oh, you should go running, but if you've got a knee, you can't
absolutely,
actually do that.
Totally, absolutely.
And some people with depression find it hard to leave the house, for example.
Yeah.
So at home we often look at breath work.
Yes.
Rather, because that can be done at home. A lot of things can be done at home.
Yeah.
Diet and breath work at home, you don't even need to leave the house.
Yeah. So I think, like for me, once again, the vegetarian thing, we need good fats for our brain. The brain is 60 to 70% cholesterol and fat. So we have to have good fats available to keep our brain up and running. Mm-hmm. So, from those once again, for people who don't have issue with, say, oxalates, who don't have issue with FODMAPs, who don't have an issue with, the lectins, then having nuts and seeds and pulses are a good idea. But people who do have an issue, it gets harder. It gets really hard, and so because I do kinesiology and ask those questions about things like nightshades and FODMAPs and oxalates and histamines and, sometimes people have issues with all of those plant toxins because their gut is so dysregulated. And that is a real problem. And 30 years ago when I was studying naturopathy, one of the things that was recommended was cabbage juice diets. Do you remember the cabbage diet going back 20 years ago? Right. So cabbage, just cooking up a big pot of cabbage, with some onion and garlic and salt and pepper and stuff, but just eating cupful after cupful after cupful of that really high in glutamine.
Well, you can make, what do they call it? You can make, kimchi or...
not if you've got a histamine issue.
Oh, okay.
So histamine...
What about sauerkraut?
Same if we've got a histamine issue, but generally yes. Generally yes. But you can sort of see why these people have got such good microbiomes in these Asian countries where they have a lot of kimchi and sauerkraut.
And also the German sauerkraut.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's just a little bit of food for thought today. We thought we'd give a go our new little demonstration process. Tell us what you think in the comments section.
It's nice to have an overview. It's just an overview of what's happening in our world,
Yeah.
in our body, in our mind.
Yeah, and
and maybe in our hearts too.
body, mind, heart, and soul. Beautiful. Awesome. Thanks, David.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.